that has gone to the mat with controversy and survived. Wrestling fans have been willing to overlook fake decisions in the ring and allegations over drug use and steroid abuse. But now there's a scandal about sex and what goes on in the locker room.
Ring boy Tom Cole said he was harassed by several of the employees when he was a minor. Superstar Billy Graham and wrestler Billy Jack Haynes.
Bell's getting these kids tickets tonight, and for return, he takes them to the room and plays with their feet. I go, what?
Hello. Today we are back in action with more depravity, and today I have a feeling that this is the worst case we've looked at so far. This is a real bad one. I'm going to issue a little bit of a disclaimer here. If you're not good with hearing things that involve children, I would go ahead and click off this video because it's extremely hard to listen to for some people. For those of you that have decided to stay, welcome back to the channel, and today we're talking about one that has been indirectly asked for on multiple occasions. Those of you that are not new to the channel, you'll notice that this is a little bit longer than normal, and it's because I want to do this one justice. And we're going to cut the bullshit and we're going to get right into it. We are talking about the WWF Ring Boy scandal that hit front stage in 1992. So look, we know Vince McMahon is an interesting guy, right? We're gonna throw bias out the window and we're gonna look at this case through a fair perspective, because all the allegations that came out about him later on, it doesn't look good. But again, we're gonna look through this with a fair perspective to give you a broad juxtaposition of what this case is. It's a quote-unquote cupcake abuse cover-up scandal where apparently high-ranking WWE officials were abusing cupcakes. The main factors involved on the WWF side were ring announcer Mel Phillips, backstage executive Terry Garvin, as well as Pat Patterson. I've been asked on a few occasions by different people in the comments to cover Pat Patterson, so this is basically going to be an indirect video about him. We're gonna throw him into this situation and we're gonna talk about him. Basically, Pat Patterson himself has had countless cupcake allegations. If I'm not wrong, he was the first gay man in WWE, or the WWF at the time, and please keep the comment section civil. Let's not throw entire groups of people under the bus due to actions of one person, so that's just a fair warning. You guys can get mad at me in the comments if you want. Pat Patterson's got a real up and down legacy depending on who you ask. He's been accused of a lot of things, as well as the whole 9 yards, right? Aside from all the ring boy stuff, he was allegedly a really just freaky guy. He would allegedly push talent better if they would do sexual favors for him. One of the people that came out to say this was Jim Powers. He was seen with a lot of the young boys that the WWF would hire around this time, and it's just not a great look for the guy. Like, Pat Patterson is the guy from church that your parents never let you be, like, alone in a room with. Everybody knew what he had going on, and I'm surprised he was able to keep his job for as long as he did, you know, being rehired and then being with WWE basically until he died. A lot of people, like, in the business still defend the guy, and it's weird to me. Numerous allegations from, like, the Ring Boys or anybody, like, around that, if they didn't do the sexual favors that Pat Patterson asked of them, the next time they showed up to an event, he would act like he didn't know him and basically kick him out. The guy got active with basically anybody that he could, and it's weird, man. He was a creepy dude. He was really strange. To cut it straight, he basically, like, I hate that I have to say it this way, but I'm going to say it this way. These folks would basically suck his Johnson, and then whenever they did, he would give him a push up the card. It's terrible, man. He and other WWE executives, Terry Garvin, would basically just scout out young boys and basically just pick the ones they liked, and they would basically be the ring crew. I said basically a lot of times there, but you get what I mean. Again, these are all allegations, and he was never charged with anything, but we know how the WWF or the WWE is with covering things up. Again, innocent until proven guilty, but it's just not a good look. However, before we completely get away from Pat Patterson, I do want to say that there has been allegations that have came out recently, as well as years before this, and this scandal has never really died. We don't know how many people are going to end up coming out later and saying things about Pat Patterson, we don't really know. We can't tell the future. However, I will say that he is accused of not being the best person backstage, so I don't know, man. He mistreated a few people backstage, including Rita Chatterton, who is an ex-WWE referee, who also happened to be the first ever female referee in WWE, who sued the company over allegations of rape. She won the lawsuit, so yeah. However, we will say that Rita Chatterton said that Pat Patterson told the other women that she was working in a women's tag team match to break her legs. However, that's hearsay. I tried to find something on it, but I just couldn't. But now, since we've got the Pat Patterson thing out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into the two people that don't really get talked about in this situation, even though they probably did the most. Mel Phillips and Terry Garvin, who ended up losing their jobs after this, rightfully so. When it comes to Mel Phillips, it kinda seems like he's the worst here. Again, I'm gonna cut it to you straight. We're not gonna beat around the bush. He had a foot fetish. And also, I'm just gonna cut straight into it. The FBI was investigating Mel Phillips after all this took place. They investigated Mel Phillips. The Federal Bureau of Investigations investigated Mel Phillips. And here's where it looks like it's going well. They identified 10 potential victims, but out of the 10 potential victims, they all declined to press charges on Mel Phillips. But here's the real kicker here. Here's the real doozy. The Bureau allegedly disregarded an entire videotape of Mel Phillips sexually assaulting a ring boy, because that makes so much sense for an entire agency investigating a crime, right? Again, I believe that that's alleged, but it could be true. I'm not sure. They haven't really said whether or not, so I don't know. But this Mel Phillips thing really goes deep, because he's cooked. The allegations in the 90s weren't new allegations. He was already being alleged of doing things to little ring boys back in the 80s. Him, as well as Terry Garvin, basically his partner in crime in this entire situation. Here's another thing where you look into the story and you just see that there's so many just like it's a cycle. It's a cycle, because Mel Phillips originally was dismissed from the WWF in 1988. You want to know what he was dismissed for? You probably guessed, but I'm going to tell you anyway. He was dismissed for having a peculiar and unnatural relationship with the Ring Boys. However, the freak was rehired a few months later after swearing that he was going to steer clear from kids. Yeah, because that one works every time, right? However, the clock turns 1992 and their luck is running out. But 1992, why is this important? Well, I'll tell you. Former ring boy Tom Cole ended up coming forward and going public with allegations against the WWF and people that were over the ring crew at the time. Subsequently, due to these allegations, of course, all three, Mel Phillips, Terry Garvin, and Pat Patterson, resigned from their positions. Patterson later got his job back, but we're not going to go into that. Vince is weird, we know that. And before we get my words mixed up, the Terry Garvin thing, that's not Tom Cole. Tom Cole originally started working for the WWF at the age of 13 in 1983. I said his age weird because I don't want YouTube getting super angry with me, so please forgive me. But to give backstory on this brave individual that decided to come out with allegations, Tom Cole was a runaway from a single-parent home. His mother was an alcoholic and his father was never in the home. According to what Tom Cole said, Mel Phillips was engaging in fetishistic play with Cole's feet. I again said that weird because I don't want YouTube coming down on the video. Again, please forgive me, but I think my point got across. He was playing with his feet and the boys, you know. It wasn't just Mel Phillips, it was also Terry Garvin, and again, he was fired for a similar reason for why Pat Patterson got that big allegation. He was fired because he wouldn't give him oral. That we're gonna say it straight, that's what it was. This story is crazy, and I'm trying my best to make it come together as well as I can, but there's so many little like twists and turns here. It wasn't just Pat Patterson that would fire people because they wouldn't do oral favors. It was also Phillips and Terry Garvin. And apparently this was something that was just a common occurrence. Cole himself would go on to sue the WWE on multiple occasions due to this, and he really never got his justice. And in 2021, at the age of 51, he ended up taking his own life. Because of negligence as well as terrible human beings in a workplace, his entire family suffers now. Also, I'm going to put this here because this is very important to the story. The first, journalists that basically aired the allegations from Tom Cole were Phil Mushnick. Mushnick was probably the biggest person that was pushing this entire scandal and putting the most out about it. However, as we all know, the more known scandal of the 90s, the steroid scandal, that happened at basically the same time. So this was practically swept under the rug. I'm not going to say it was swept under the rug, but it took a backseat to the steroid scandal. And don't get me wrong, steroids are terrible, steroids are bad, and you shouldn't take them, but I'm pretty sure you would want to protect kids rather than, stop steroid usage. Maybe I'm like a crybaby internet nerd for that, but I think, the abuse of children is a little bit worse than steroid usage. Also, I should probably state that Garvin, Phillips, and Patterson were all sued multiple times following this occasion, as well as 1999, but it never really gained traction like it should have. Like, it was a big thing, but I feel like it should have been a bigger issue. The sad truth of the matter is that many potential victims, if there truly were that many, would be unlikely to come forward. A large portion of my audience is male. I'm gonna say the majority of it is male, so you guys know how it is to where, like, you want to be a man and you don't want to tell people your problems. It's one of those things where you feel like if you're gonna speak out about it, you're gonna be seen as, like, less of a man. We see that even today, like, young men that have been sexually assaulted, they don't go out and say it because they feel like it makes them look like less of a man. It's unfortunate that a lot of people's psyches are wired that way, and it sucks knowing that so many people are out there hurting and they just won't tell anybody. This is something that, like, truly ruins somebody's life. We're getting better with it as a society, basically just accepting people coming out like this, but it's still not perfect, and you can only imagine how it was in the 80s and 90s. The story of Tom Cole should have been a lot bigger than it was, and it should have really shaken not just the wrestling world, but the world around us to the core, because there was so much that was going on. But no, steroid scandal, that's all we care about now. We don't care about the child abuse allegations from like 2 years ago. We don't care about those. And like it just makes Vince McMahon, the character of Vince McMahon, just who he is as a person, it makes him look so much worse, because he knew, of course he knew. It's just he didn't care enough. The fact that he rehired Mel Phillips tells you all you need to know, as well as Pat Patterson, but we won't get into that. That's just nepotism and being best friends with Vinnie Mac. The fact that this was even enabled to happen is disgusting, and the fact that, like, it was swept under the rug is even more disgusting. The past couple minutes of this have just been me ranting, but I still just don't understand how you're okay with this. Like, I don't get it. If you're a boss, you should know that something this serious is going on, and when you know something this serious is going on, because you did, you should do something about it. But that's just me being a complete and utter crybaby on the internet that decides to think logically. Also, I will say this because I saw a comment on my most recent video asking for if I was going to do like more long form content, and yes, this is going to be something that we revisit in the future whenever I can actually tell a story. Psychology, brother. But I do have plans to make like 30+ minute videos in the future, and God bless Ring. Like, God bless Ring. He's gonna be going through hell editing that. But yeah, in the future, more long form, like more super in-depth content, as well as just overall doing more things, not just wrestling, and just basically having a space where I can just create, right? But anyways, I appreciate you guys for taking time out of your day to watch this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If I earned it, of course, a like and a subscription would be very, very helpful for me. But yeah, different outro today. I'm gonna be extremely blunt about it. Subscribe, join the Discord, follow me on Twitter, and yeah, y'all stay safe. Stay safe out there. God bless. Thanks for 1K again.